Hi all, welcome to Padai. Today we are going to discuss the topic cell structure and functions. This is for 8th standard students. Let us quickly look the topics that we are going to cover in this video. In part 1, we have two parts for this cell structure and functions. In part 1, we are going to cover what is how cell was discovered, what is cell number, what is the size and shape of the cells. Let us start with cell discovery. What is discovery? Finding something new, inventing, locating, uncovering. So basically finding something new that is not present till date is said to be the discovery. Who discovered cell? It's Robert Hooke. In the year 1665 he discovered the cell. He took slices of cork and observed them under the magnifying device which is available at that time. Cork is nothing but it is a part of bark of a tree. So basically it's the slices of wood that he observed, slices of wood under the magnifying device. So why did he coin the term cell? What makes him to think to coin the term as cell, right? So what he noticed when he was observing the slices of wood that under the magnifying device, so he observed that they are actually tiny boxes present in them, or compartments you can say. They're actually, he also assumed that they look like honeycomb. So each box was separated from each other by a wall. So these tiny boxes are separated from each other. They are not overlapped or not stick together. They are separated from each other. He thought that there is some wall in between the both cells. That's when he thought, and he coined the term cell. So to do all these observations and to study the inner components of anything, they need some instrument, right? That's when he used the magnifying device and the microscopes which is available at that time. So basically, who discovered microscope? So it's Hans and Zacharias Janssen. They discovered the microscope, and the interesting part is they both are father and son. So these are Dutch spectacle makers. So they created the first microscope. So Leeuwenhoek is the first person to observe the live cell, which is nothing but the bacteria. So whatever Robert Hooke observed at that time, like he took slices of wood and he kept them under the microscope and he made some observations, right? So all that whatever he observed at that time, those cells are actually the dead cells. They are not living cells. So it's Anton von Leeuwenhoek is the first person to observe the live cells, that too bacteria. So later Robert Hooke wrote a book called Micrographia, where he mentioned all the studies that he has made at that time on minute bodies. So he wrote in the year 1667. It was very famous then. So one of the we can say it's a Bible for at that time. So he wrote a book called Micrographia, where he wrote all the studies related to microorganisms basically. So later stages advancements have took place. So initially Leeuwenhoek's microscope is a one handle. It used to have a single handle where one end of the handle used to have lens, the other end you need to look through your eyes, like from your eyes. Okay, then later we have got the compound microscope. Later we have got the electron microscope. So this improvement in improved microscope with high magnification made the study of cells easy for the scientist. So later we got to know much more in detail about the cell. So let us look into the cell. So before going to the cell topic cell, I would like to discuss a small concept over here. If you see clearly, if you see here, you can see a huge tree and a small plant, right? Basically, let us discuss the functions of these both, right? If you observe, like if at all you think, like just think once, both irrespective of the size and shape, both of them takes in carbon dioxide, releases oxygen, and both of them prepare food, because both of them look very healthy. They are very greenish, right? Which means they prepare food and they are doing good. So they absorb water from their roots. So irrespective of their size and shape, the function is similar, right? So it didn't change, like since the plant is very small and the number of cells in the plant are less when you compare it with a huge tree, it doesn't mean that the functions will differ. So this functioning is not at all dependent, or the number of cells is not at all dependent on the size or shape of the organism. So let us see what is cell. Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Cells are in different shape and size. So the shape and size of the cell, it's basically depends on the function of the cell, right? Example, now I am moving my hand. So my muscle cells will have a different shape when you compare with nerve cell. Nerve cell are actually branches. Nerve cells have branches. So we will get more in depth about the cell shape and size in coming up in the coming up videos. So here what I wanted to mention here, the cell size and shape depends on the function of the cell. So one interesting thing, egg is said to be a single cell. So what is cell number? What are the number of cells, and how does the shape and size of a cell vary? Why does it vary? How do they look actually? So cells are the lowest level of organization in every life form. Yes, we have discussed when we have seen a clear example where a huge tree and a small plant, irrespective of the size and shape, they have the same function, and the whole life form starts from a single cell. So basically it is the lowest level of organization in every life form, right? So the number of cells vary from organism to organism. Let us take example of human beings. In humans we have some billions and trillions of cells, whereas when you compare with bacteria, it is a single cell organism, right? But humans, we are multicellular. We have different type of cells. We have neurons, we have muscle cells, bone cells, blood cells, right? RBCs, WBCs. We have several type of cells present in our body. They are in billion and million in number. But when you compare with bacteria, it is a single cell organism. So what is unicellular? Unicellular is nothing but it is a single cell. Uni means one, cellular means cell. So any organism having a single cell is said to be unicellular organism. And here we have examples like Paramecium, amoeba, bacteria, yeast. All these are considered to be a unicellular organisms. What is multicellular organisms? Organisms which are having one or more than one, right? Basically they are having multiple types of cells in the organism, that is said to be a multicellular. Multi means many, cellular means cell. So basically it is having more than one cell. Example, human being is best example, and you can also consider other animals as well. Plants are also one of the best examples for this. We have some plants, human beings, or you take other animals, they are having some billions and trillions of cells present in them. So now let us discuss how this size and shape of the cell depends on the function of the cell. Example, here you can see the muscle cell, right? Smooth muscle cell, where it is spindle in shape, elongated and narrowed edges, right? It is totally different from nerve cell. When you see the nerve cell, it is having the branches and axons vagera. So it is totally different from the muscle cell, because these muscle cells are structured in that way. The shape and size is designed in that way so that it will help in the movement. Example, I'm moving my hand, right? So basically the shape and size totally depends on the function. So the function of the cell depends on its shape and size, yes. And the cells they're very small, they're very tiny. It is as small as 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer. So basically bacteria is the smallest one. It is having the size in between 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer. And the largest cell measuring 170 millimeter into 130 millimeter, which is nothing but the ostrich egg. And again, you need to remember, previously we have seen that egg is said to be a single cell. Similarly, ostrich egg is also a single cell, but it is the largest cell, right? And here I have given a list of cells, their shape and function. So you have muscle cell, skin cell, right? So every cell, bone cell, every cell is different from one another in size, shape, right? Basically the size and shape depends on the function of the cell. So please go through this so that you will get better idea how the function actually is responsible for the size and shape of the cell. So that's all for today in this video. In our next video, in part 2, cell structure and functions, part 2, we are going to cover parts of the cell, comparison between plant and animal cell. So if you have any queries or if you have any notes, please do comment in the below section so that we'll come back to you. Thank you.